Hi everyone, this is Stephanie from the Yale Alumni Association, and I'm really excited to be back for another Yale Alumni Live today. We're going to be joined in just a few minutes by Zenab Keita, who is class of 2014 and a former women's basketball player at Yale. We are so excited to have her and to talk to her a little bit about what her life was like as a student athlete at Yale and what she's doing now with professional basketball. I don't know about all of you, but I've definitely been missing sports. I know we've got a little bit of football, we've got baseball with really weird cutouts in the stands, but I've been missing sports, and I know we're going to be missing out on Yale athletics this year, so we're really excited to talk to Zena today. And tomorrow we're going to be talking with Justin Sears, who is playing professionally in Germany. So we are very excited to have both of these former athletes joining us, and I think Zena is going to be on any minute, so we will welcome her and see what she's been up to. Zena, how are
Hi,
you? I'm so excited to be able to talk to you today.
I'm excited to be able to join. I feel
I
like it's been a while since I've had some Yale love in my life, so this is gonna be good.
I know. Well, last time we saw each other was like a wonderful day in San Francisco, and things were normal, and now here we are, totally different place. And you right now are currently in France, correct?
That is correct. I am both a French citizen and American citizen, and so in the midst of the wildfires that were happening in California, I took the opportunity to go see my mom, who lives in Paris, with my sister, and have a family moment. So we've been here about almost 3 weeks, and I was supposed to go back earlier this week, but COVID, so flights keep getting canceled. But I am going back this weekend. But it's been a really, really nice trip so far.
Yeah, it sounds like a wonderful place to spend a little bit of this weird year. So we're
For
glad
sure.
that you can make the time for us. I know that's
Yeah.
a big time difference. So we're just going to jump into it. We're going to talk just a little bit about your Yale experience. So tell us just a little bit about growing up and where you're from and why you decided to come to Yale.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I actually was born in France originally, moved to the United States to North Carolina when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and lived there pretty much my entire life until before Yale. Very much grew up in a southern small town. Everybody knew each other. But the biggest part about it was sports was huge. If even in middle school, I was about 5'10", probably in the seventh grade. And everyone was like, what are you going to do with all that height? You're going to have to do something with it. And nobody in my family had ever played like sports as far as like high school sports and things of that sort. So this was a new venture. And I started playing volleyball and basketball. My sister started playing tennis in high school. And it was just kind of like, all right, let's morph into this very American lifestyle, which is go to games, enjoy the games. My mom became a team mom, all the above. So basketball took over from a volleyball perspective versus basketball. And I started playing AAU, and that was when I got the opportunity to see all the different schools that were available to go to. As a first generation college student, those doors and those kind of thoughts had never really been open to me at that point. And so I thank basketball really for changing the trajectory of my life, for opening those doors. And I still remember getting my first letter in the mail from any of the Ivies, and particularly Yale was the first one though, and just kind of being like, oh, this could be a thing. This being able to go Ivy, being able to go to the top schools in the world is an opportunity here. And so I went through my high school season, and it was actually a funny thing. I ended up signing to a different school. I had signed to the University of Delaware because they'd given me a scholarship in basketball and in academics, and I really wanted to go to Yale. And so I took the opportunity. I went to prep school after high school. Shout out to Pomfret in Connecticut, and decided I broke my contract with Delaware, and I was like, I want to go to an Ivy school. And so I reapplied to a few schools, but including Yale, and I got into Yale, and I was like, here we go. So it was cool being able to see Yale as an opportunity, even from high school, but then also finally being able to go was a dream come true.
And so you arrived on campus and you were a women's basketball player. You joined the team. Now, everybody always takes the opportunity to say the residential college, which is, of course, the best one.
Yes.
Which one
Pearson,
was
of course.
it?
Pearson. P is for the P of Pearson College. We were the best. We were the biggest. Yeah, I'm biased, but yes, definitely Pearson.
So what were you involved in when you were on campus, Dina?
So everything, I guess, when I was thinking about that, I was like, everything I did was really sports themed.
Mm-hmm.
I did do the Yale thing, which is freshman year, try everything. I tried a cappella group, I tried an improv group, I tried all these different things to try to see what I was interested in. I tried like a business entrepreneur group, but nothing really stuck. Mostly because being in sports was like a different world. Like you had a full-time job being a student athlete at Yale. But things that worked really well was working within the sports realm. And so I kind of got to do a few different things in that world. Like I got to work with YDN. I worked on their multimedia desk doing some stories for them. I got to work with our, did sports announcing. I did play-by-play, sports announcing, all the above under Sam Rubin. Shout out to him, great guy. I think he's still there doing publicity for the sports department. And then I also, as far as in sports, I did a lot of volunteering as well as was the president of our Yale Student Athlete Advisory Committee. And that was a really special project for me because we had to revamp that. We had one that existed, but it was kind of dead. So writing the bylaws for it and getting involved with the other schools and all the above, that was a project for me, my junior to my senior year. And so really dove deep into that one.
That's awesome. So part of the reason why, and I think I explained this to you, but for everybody watching, part of the reason why I wanted to talk with some student athletes this week, especially basketball players, is because this is traditionally when the season would start. And unfortunately, it's been such a weird year for sports. I still can't get over like the cutouts in the baseball stadiums, although I do appreciate like the towns that are doing like office characters and things like that. But it's been a weird year in sports, and we're unfortunately not going to be having our basketball season right now, and we're not going to be having our football season. So can you think of a story to tell us, one of your favorite moments, maybe on the court or just as a member of the team, something to just bring back a little basketball nostalgia for us?
Oh yeah. I mix between our memories, like the Yale women's basketball memories, and then also the memories we had with the Yale men's team, just because we were such a tight group in the two programs. But for me, I struggle between three, and it was kind of gradual memories. The first one was my freshman year. We beat the Boston College team that was ranked number 14th in the country that year.
Awesome.
That was unreal. I mean, they also had Carolyn Sword, and I don't know how much you know about WNBA. She's currently playing for the Las Vegas Aces. She actually came back to play basketball now professionally, but this girl's like 6'7", 6'8", like absolute monster of a post. And they just had some talented girls in their roster, and they were stunned. I mean, completely stunned that this little Yale Ivy team that, our biggest player at the time was Maddie Gobrecht, that was about 6'3", but like in comparison to them, like scrawnier, all the above, but we played smart and we beat them.
Because you're smart. Exactly. I was going to say you were smart players.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Boston College is a really smart school too. So I was but yeah, it was amazing that we were able to beat them and just play on point. And so that was a great memory. The next memory was probably my sophomore year. We did not win this game, but we do have an interesting, fun statistic about this game. We went to go play Baylor. And just to show you how much they did not take us seriously, they didn't even practice the day before we played them. Like they were just like, we'll take a day off. They were beating people at that point. They had just played some of my AAU teammates at Howard and some other schools. They were beating people like 90 points to 30. Like it was just demoralizing the way they were beating people. So we came in kind of like, all right, well, whatever happens, happens. We're just here, so let's just do this. And in the first half, I mean, I think we went into the locker room maybe down between 10 or something points. And they were like fascinated. They were like, why in the world is Yale right now with us? Like, this is crazy. We had scored more points on them than any team at that point during that season had scored on them. They went on that year to win the championship. They had the number one draft pick, Brittany Griner. They were phenomenal, but that was an amazing game. And personally for me, I drained 3 threes in front of Brittany Griner, who was guarding me. And so I felt pretty special that came out of nowhere.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
And the last one was sweeping Harvard. And I can't remember if that was my junior or senior year, but knowing that rivalry, being able to beat them twice was pretty awesome.
We love beating
For sure.
Harvard. Any story that involves beating
Yeah,
Harvard is a good
right.
story.
Exactly. So
I love
either
it.
whether it was us or the men's team, we were just like always enthused about that. For sure.
We're gonna miss beating Harvard this year, but hopefully
I
we'll be
know.
back to that next year. So tell us a little bit about your career path, because I understand that you studied anthropology and you had a potential opportunity to work for National Geographic, if that sounds right to you. And
That's where I wanted to work.
Okay.
That was the dream.
Okay.
As I mentioned, I was born in France and raised in the South, in the American South in North Carolina, and my parents are both African. So I had a lot of different cultures infusing themselves on me and how I was responding to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time that through anthropology at Yale, was the first time that I was able to kind of put words to it, understanding the study of culture, understanding what was going on. And so I was like, how do I make this into a job?
Mm-hmm.
And so working for National Geographic was like the goal, the end goal. But I could not tear myself away from the tie to sports. It was what got me to Yale. It was what got me through Yale. I feel like the discipline of playing sports, and just the people I met through it. I was like, how do I find a way to be in this as well? And so when I got to my senior year, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had so many different people telling me, you could do this, you could do that. So I did what a lot of people do. They take a grad year and figure it out then. And so I went to Wake Forest on a scholarship for my MA, MBA, and it's a dual degree program, but it was for my master's in science and management.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that year, I got so many great tools as far as some of the things that, the career office probably would have given me at Yale, but playing sports was hard to get to. But I finally got a year to kind of just think about that, think about what it is that I wanted to do, what were my skills, what I could offer. And I got a year to network,
Right.
just to take the time and call people within our Yale Alumni Network. What do you do? What do you like about your job? What do you not like about your job? And through that, found an opportunity in sales and sports sales, which is usually the entry level like opportunity in sports. And so I started working with the Miami Dolphins in group sales, did that for a season, did well, but knew that it wasn't my passion. And I wanted to do something that allowed me to use my Yale brain, right? A little bit more strategy, a little bit more thinking through things and problem solving. And so I got the opportunity to work in the partnerships department after that. And that was kind of like okay, light bulbs are on. Now I'm thinking about brands, I'm thinking about partners, I'm thinking about our storyline and how that can be evolved to work with other brands and selling their products. And it was the perfect fit. And so did that for another 2 years with the Miami Dolphins, and then got the opportunity to get called up to the Golden State Warriors. And that was probably the best thing that's happened to my career by far. Yeah.
And now you're back in basketball, and that feels like home to you.
For sure.
What is it like working for the Golden State Warriors? And this year was a pretty good year for basketball. I mean, from what I understand, they did really well as far as containing cases, and they were able to play.
Oh, yeah.
Big win for the Lakers, but
it's okay. We're not hurt about it. LeBron James called us out. He said, as the Warriors say, strength in numbers. So hey, we got our plug there too. So we're good with our neighbors to the south. But no, working for the Warriors is it's like, I mean, this is going to be corny to say, but it's like, going to the Yale of NBA teams from a front office perspective. I mean, everything they do is just on another level, right? The NBA looks to us and the Golden State Warriors is kind of like, what are the Golden State Warriors doing? How can we make this a better league? Can we use them as an example? And then even within our group, within our partnerships team, if you look at my team and all the different places they've worked, whether it's agencies, whether it's at ESPN, IMG, all these other locations, like we've brought the best of the best to create kind of a super team in doing partnerships. And so it's been incredible in the short almost 3 years that I've been there. been able to win a championship. So I've finally got a championship ring, and being able to open a new building in San Francisco that we are trying to make the beacon of entertainment within the world. I mean, talk about being able to go to a school like Yale and talking about being the best of the best, right? World over. It's the same sort of concept and the same sort of approach to things at the Golden State Warriors. So that's been really cool to be able to constantly be learning, but also constantly be learning from the best. And so it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
It's incredible. And, you know, selfishly, I am responsible for clubs, typically in a non-COVID world, and San Francisco is my territory. So I cannot wait to get back out there and see you guys and be a part of all that magic. So I talked to you a little earlier, if everybody was watching, Zenab was interviewed by Essence Magazine a year and a half ago, asking what it's like to be a Black woman in professional sports. So obviously a lot has changed in that time period, and you also have an additional year and a half under your belt. Right. So you answered the question a year and a half ago, but tell everybody what it's like now being a Black woman in professional sports.
Sure. I will say that the context in which we live right now, right, with this racial and social justice uprising that came about after the murder of George Floyd, it has allowed for a new conversation to spur, and for people like me and the women that were on that list that are like me to be able to have their voices heard in a way that hasn't happened before, and not only have their voices heard, but have their voices and their opinions considered. A lot of the times, the things that we were saying in that list would stay within the confines of an Essence magazine, right? Where only other Black women or only other Black people would be able to identify with what we were saying. Now, because of the new context between the WNBA doing what they did, dedicating their season to Breonna Taylor, and what the NBA did with the Black Lives Matters on their courts and on their warm-up shirts, like it is part of the normal conversation, not just a small subgroup and small faction of people in sports. And so I will say we haven't had so much change, right? We haven't had so much change, but what has changed is my ability to say my opinion and state what I feel about how I feel as a Black woman in sports, and people listening, people hearing me out. I feel like I'm very fortunate that I work at the Golden State Warriors, where I feel like I've always been able to just really speak out and have my opinion heard and all the above. But I know that we live in the Bay Area. It's a very liberal area. We have one of the most progressive presidents within all of sports. So that's a unique situation. Not everyone I know within sports can have that same platform, that same open conversation. And so that, I think, is what has changed in a year and a half, is more people that look like me within the world of sports have felt more comfort being able to say, hey, this is what I've experienced, and don't gaslight me. This is really what I feel, and this is what I really experience, and people are willing to have the conversation to try and change it and make it better.
Yeah. It's so encouraging. And on that note, I just have one last question for you, and it's really related to what advice would you give? You can choose one of two scenarios, or you can do both. Young girls who are looking at sports as a future, as a career, as a way to propel themselves into higher education, and also young women who are interested in going into professional sports. What advice would you give those two groups?
Sure. So for the first group, the young girls that are looking to aspire to higher education like Yale or get into sports or whatever it is, I would tell you to fight against your imposter syndrome. We as women in general always feel as if we shouldn't necessarily be in the spaces that we're in. The way that society has been set up for years, right? These spaces weren't made for us, but we found ourselves into these spaces. So I would say fight that imposter syndrome. You deserve to be there. You're skilled, you're qualified. That's something that I, for years, had to fight, not only as a woman, but as a Black woman, as an immigrant, learning this language, whatever it is, from a very young age, had to fight of like, do I deserve this? Should I be here? Am I skilled? Am I qualified? So that would be my number one advice, is just get rid of those limiting beliefs. Know that you deserve to be here. Know that you are qualified. And this is your room just as much as it is anyone else's. For those that are interested in getting into sports, my advice is network. You have absolutely no idea who could help you, who could open a door for you, who could tell you about an opportunity that could change your path. I 1000% am where I am because of networking. I literally got a LinkedIn message from, at the time, the CMO of the Golden State Warriors was a man by the name of Chip Bowers. He literally LinkedIn messaged me, and it was after I had an informational phone call with him a year prior. He remembered me from that conversation and was like, hey, I'm building out this team. I think you should apply for this role. What do you think? A year prior, right? Just off of a networking call. I wanted to know more about partnerships. He was the guru, according to people in the league. And it turned out that he was building a team. And a year later, he asked me to apply for this role. And here I am. Network. It's going to be, sports is a small world. And so being able to make a relationship with one person is going to be what's going to help you get into this world. Because, like I said, small world, but you never know who can open those doors for you.
So true. This has been such an absolute pleasure talking to you. I wish it were in person again.
I know.
But hopefully in the near future it will be. So for all of you who've been watching, Zena, you are amazing. I know you tried to pass the buck. You didn't want to do this with me because you don't want to be on Instagram Live, but it's been amazing.
I want to help other athletes. I want to give other people opportunities, but yeah.
But you have a wonderful story, and people needed to hear it. And you have, of course, have brought success to the Golden State Warriors because you're just fantastic. So thank you for being here with us. Tomorrow we're talking to Justin Sears, who I know you overlapped with by 2 years.
Yes.
So it's Yale basketball week. So thank you for joining us. Thank you to everybody who's watched. And this is going to be recorded, put up on Yale Alumni Vimeo for everyone to see. And it will also be on our Yale Alumni wall for people to replay and get that amazing advice from Zena, or listen to her anecdotes about beating Harvard, because we always want to talk about beating Harvard. So enjoy Paris. Safe travels home. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course.
Take care,
Thanks,
Zena.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.